please, please do not become an entrepreneur. Forget about all the stuff that you read, but forget about all the stuff that you learned here this week. Forget about all your dreams. It's not worth it. When people come up to me and they say they want to start their own business, I ask why. The number one response I get is, I want to make a lot of money. Well, in the United States, only 4% of all organizations get over $1 million in revenue. And if you take that, that might sound like a lot, but that's actually at a normal profit rate, that's $100,000 per year, and you take out all the loans you have to pay back, all the taxes, and it's an average salary. So that means you only have a 4% chance of even making an average salary by starting your own business. Other people come to me, they say, hey, I don't want to work a lot. Well, I can tell you, as you're probably noticing, if you start your own business, you're going to work more hours than you've ever worked in your life. Some people say they have a great idea. I say, be an engineer. So other people say they're competitive. I say, be a salesperson. Some people say they're a great leader. I said, join a management training program. Being an entrepreneur is tough. Now, if you're sitting there in your seat and you're saying, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway, then you just might have what it takes. Because I'll tell you what, starting a business is by far the hardest thing you will ever have to do in your life. But by far, it's the most fulfilling. And if this tall, skinny guy on stage can talk you out of it in 3 minutes, then you don't have what it takes. And I'll tell you what, you can go be an employee, because I'll tell you, us and the other entrepreneurs, we need employees, so you can come work for us. But I just want you to understand that there's only one answer to why do you want to be an entrepreneur. And that's what Jeremiah said, is to add value in this world. It's to create change. Because look at the people who used to create change. It used to be politicians and activists. It used to be like Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Winston Churchill. But nowadays, it's the business people, it's the business leaders of the world. So it is the Bill Gates Foundation, the Mark Zuckerberg, the Warren Buffetts. So like it or not, money, what comes with money is influence and power. And then when you can lead with your heart, with your soul, become soul-centered leaders, great things happen. And that's what I teach. I teach soul-centered leadership because I think our world right now needs more people guided by their inner voice and their higher power, whatever that higher power may be for you. Because I think that's where beauty comes. And I mean, if you look at the world right now, the world needs a lot of people to really step up and do this because, we have terrorism, we have natural disasters. People are talking about Grexits and Brexits. In the United States, we have Hillary's email server and Trump wants to build a wall around Mexico. I mean, even Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie broke up. I mean, what is this world coming to? So that's why you need to step up. So I thought, what can I teach? I only have a couple minutes here. What can I give back? And my background is I founded a couple international software companies in California, but I wanted to take my life to the next level. And so I earned a really unique master's degree in spiritual psychology. And I wanted to give everybody a taste of what spiritual psychology is, so we're going to spend the next 15 and a half minutes hugging. No, I'm just joking. No hugging in this session. But it's really funny, when I do that in Germany, the Germans, man, they freak out. Nine hugging. But you guys are a little more casual. That's cool. But when I say spiritual psychology, it is, we learn the same psychoanalysis techniques you learn in any other psychology degree. We just learn it from a place of love and compassion for ourselves and other people. And so I'm going to focus on psychology, but we'll hit a little bit of spirituality at the end. But I thought, because I've been through it too, and I probably know what you're going through, I'm going to teach you the psychology of overcoming procrastination, fear, and resistance. Procrastination, fear, and resistance. Because we need these skills, we need these tools to get over that. So when I mention these, procrastination, fear, and resistance, one thing comes to your mind. I bet there's one thing out there. Maybe it's a pitch you've been putting off. Maybe it's a book you wanted to write. Maybe it's that difficult phone call or that difficult conversation you have to make, but you've been putting it off. You've been procrastinating. You have resistance about doing it. I want you to take that specific situation, and I want you to really think about what that is. Now, if I tell you psychologically why you are resisting that, why you have resistance and fear around that, and a tool to overcome that each and every time, will this be a successful session? Yes. Good, because I don't know what to do for the next 15 minutes if you said no. So we're all on the same page. We're going good. So I want you to take that one specific situation, and for right now, I just wanted to put it in the back of your head, because we'll come back to it later, but I want you to have one thing to work on when we get to that part. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you a couple stories that happened to me and how they might relate to you. So in San Diego, it's funny, Jeremiah and I came from the same city, San Diego, California. A couple years ago, I was at a networking event, and we all go to networking events, right, where you go there to meet other people. And so I get there, and I got there alone, and I parked my car, and I get out of my car, and I go, and I walk into it, and I see 3 people over there, and I could tell by their body language they didn't know each other. So I'm heading over there, going to go talk to them and introduce myself, and out of the corner of my eye, I spot the bar. And for some unknown reason, instead of introducing myself to them, I go and I make a beeline to the bar. 3 minutes later, I'm sitting there sipping on my drink. I'm like, what am I doing? I come to this place to meet people, and all of a sudden, here I am standing alone at the bar sipping on my drink. Something went on in my mind. Something subconsciously went on in my mind that I was scared of. I had fear. I had a fear of rejection. I had a fear of rejection, and that's why I changed my direction and I went to the bar. Now, how many people have ever been to a networking event, they went and introduced themselves to someone, and that person's like, hi, I don't like you? And it ever happened? It's a pretty irrational fear, isn't it? Yet, it changed my behavior. For some reason, some part of me thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to put myself out there. I'm scared I'm going to get rejected at a networking event. Well, and it's interesting how these subconscious patterns work. Now, I met a guy one time, and what happens is he travels a lot for a university. And as we all know, when you travel and you stay over, anybody here travel a lot? You get to stay in hotels, and then what happens at night in the hotel? You're like, I got to eat dinner, I'm hungry. So you have 2 choices, right? You can either get room service, and then when you get room service, you're sitting in bed, you're eating in bed, you got your laptop, you're watching the worst movie in the world because you don't want to pay for pay-per-view, right? You're thinking, man, am I a loser sitting up here? So the next night, you're like, you know what? I'm going to go down to the hotel bar or the hotel restaurant. You're sitting in the hotel restaurant all by yourself. You have your tablet computer, and you're like, man, I feel like a loser sitting here all alone, right? Happens to all of us. Well, it happens to me. I hope it happens to you too. I hope I'm not the only one. But I met this guy, and what he said is, he said, you know what? I hate eating alone. I really hate eating alone. So every time that I'm out for dinner and I'm alone and I'm at a hotel, I go up to people and I ask, hey, I really don't like eating alone. I like to meet new people. Can I eat dinner with you? I'm like, you do what, dude? He's like, yeah, it's cool. I meet some great people, and I make some good connections. I get business out of it. And he goes, sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. I'm like, whew, that's pretty gutsy, man. I said, so, what's your success rate? Like 80, 90%? He's like, no, about 30, 35. I'm like, what? So every time you go out, it's like, no, yes? He's like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm like, man, that's awesome. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? He's like, look, if they say no, they're not saying no to me. Maybe they're on a date. Maybe they are, whatever, having a business meeting. And that's okay. They can say no. They're not saying no to me. They're saying no to the situation. I'm like, man, that's gutsy. That's awesome. That's inspiring. I'll tell you something else that happened to me. A couple years ago, I had a coffee with a lady when I was running my software companies, and she was a potential referral source, and I'm sure we've all just had coffees to get to know people. Maybe we can do business together. So we're sitting down there, and we had talked for like 45 minutes or an hour. We had a couple miscellaneous follow-ups, so it went okay, like coffee like I've had 300 times in my life before. When I got back, she sent me this note, and the note more or less said, hey, I don't really want to follow up with you anymore. I don't like you. I was like, whoa, does she know who I am? How could she not like me? And it really threw me for a loop. for the next couple hours, I was really down on myself. I was like, man, did I say something wrong? I mean, I said some stupid stuff in my life, so did one of those stupid things come out of my mouth and I didn't even realize it? But I replayed every little sentence, every little word that I said, and it was just a normal lunch. It was just normal coffee. You know, it's nothing that happened or didn't happen that didn't happen 1,000 times before. And so I really, really was judging myself. I was really there, and I thought about it. And then after about 2-3 hours of just stewing on this, I realized it was a great, great gift. What I learned through that situation is not everybody's going to like me. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that. And when I made the realization to just be me and not worry about if everybody likes me, it just lifted a weight off of my shoulders. Because how many times have you said, or even better yet, not said something because you wanted to make sure somebody liked you, that you didn't want to piss anybody off, that you wanted to, in a way, play small? And I told myself from now on, I'm going to realize that some people are going to like me and some people aren't. And I'll tell you, when I go out there and I meet people, I have this little, because I get the little voice in the back of my head, just like everybody else has this little voice in the back of their head. Sometimes I see somebody that I want to meet, and I'm like, yeah, maybe they're not going to like me. And my voice says, yeah, maybe they're not. That's cool. Because I want to meet a lot of people, and you know what? Some are cool with me and some are not. You know, I got a news flash for you. I meet some people I don't like, and that's okay. And now when I meet people and I get that vibe, I just go talk to somebody else. That's cool. I don't sit there and try to make them like me. I just give them their space. But the funny thing is often when we meet somebody and we're getting that vibe, they're more scared than us. They're more nervous than us. We're just better at hiding it, I think, sometimes. So all these things go on in our head, and we got to figure out what they are and what they mean. So back to the psychology of procrastination, resistance, and fear. And I gave you an example that happened in my life, and maybe you can relate to that. But if we talk psychologically, if we look at the psychological reasons, when we're 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, there's only one thing that really matters to us in our lives. And people have kids, they know this. When I'm that age, when I'm in that very developmental age, the only thing I really care about is the love and adoration of my caregivers, which is normally my parents, my mom and dad. You know, when I'm 4 years old, I don't care what food I'm eating. I don't care what toys I have. I just want hugs from my mom and dad. And that's basic human behavior. So let's say I was in a race, and so my dad was watching me at a race, and I'm 5 years old, and my dad, he wanted the best for me, but he was really, really tough on me, right? I'll toughen Michael up, let's go, when I'm 5 years old. So I'm in a race with 100 other kids, and they say go. And so 100 other kids, I run as fast as I can at this little 5-year-old. I come in third out of 100. Now my dad, who remember, he's really tough on me, what does he say to me? Does he give me a good job? No, he doesn't. Michael, you got to run faster. Your heart's not in it. You're not pumping your arms hard enough. What's wrong with you, kid? Get back out there and win. All right, Dad, I got it. Next race, I got it. So next race comes, 100 other kids. They say go. I pump my arms as hard as I can. I put my heart into it. And I come in second. Second out of 100 is pretty good. What does my dad say? First loser. Right? God, Dad, I'm trying so hard. But knowing that the only thing in my life that matters is the love and adoration of my father, what connection do I make as a little kid? I make the connection that love equals winning. That the only way to get that love that I crave is by coming in first, is by being perfect. Let's look at another example. Say I get an A+ on my test, and I come in, I'm 6 years old, and I go, hey, Mom, I got an A+ on my test. She goes, oh, Michael, you're perfect. I love you so much. I'm perfect. I love you so much. It's called conditional parenting. And my mom and dad, they mean the best for me. But look at these little signals that I'm getting, and there's so many ways this happen. So now, as a kid, and as I'm growing up, the next time I can take a hard test or an easy test, which test do I take? I take an easy test. The next time I can take an easy test or no test, which test do I take? I take no test because there's no chance of not being perfect and no chance of losing that perceived love and affection. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where procrastination comes from. Now, take that situation that you put back here, that thing that right now present in your life that you're procrastinating, have resistance or fear around, and how is that you taking no test? How is that you not putting yourself out there? How is that you playing it safe? How is that you shying away from the chance of not being perfect or not? When I wrote my first book, I thought it was the best book in the world, and I gave it to my book coach. So I finished this book. I thought, man, he's going to read the book. He's going to be like, Michael, this is the best book ever. It just needs a couple tweaks, and here we go. So I give it to him. A week later, he calls me, and he says, hey, Michael, I got some feedback for you on your book. You ready? I'm like, yeah, cool, bring it on. He said, all right, do you want the raw feedback, or do you want the feedback packaged up in a really nice way? I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't like the way this conversation is going, so give it to me packed up in a really nice way. He's like, your book's not very good. I'm like, what were you going to say if I asked for the raw feedback? And he said, he told me all the reasons it wasn't, and I started to get down on myself. He's like, Michael, people write for years and years and years before they write their first book. Writing a book is hard. Writing a book is really, really hard. And he said, so stop trying to be perfect on your first go-round. And that's what I realized. I mean, if you want to talk about how do you overcome this procrastination, resistance, and fear, I mean, we talked a little bit about lean before, and you've heard some of those things. What you do is when you start something new, you call it an experiment. You stop taking the pressure, you take the pressure off yourself to be perfect. When you talk about innovation, when you talk about creativity, people that innovate, people that take risks, and I'm a risk taker, we don't always get things perfect because we're out there leading the pack. And then what you do is when you want to go about something new, you call it an experiment, because what's the only way to fail in an experiment? To not conduct it. An experiment is there to learn. So the next time you have to do something, the next time you have a pitch, the next time you take a product out, the next time you even have to make a call to a prospect, say, you know what, this is an experiment. I'm going to give it a whirl, and I'm going to see what I can learn about it. Because that will shift your thinking, and that takes the pressure off being perfect. There's a guy named Joseph Campbell. Now, with Joseph Campbell, he's an amazing guy. He's a psychologist and he's a religious scholar. And he studied every major religion. And he found out that every major religion tells the same story. How crazy is that? All these different religions, they're telling the same story. He calls it the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is so compelling that George Lucas, he was halfway done to Star Wars. He read Joseph Campbell's work. He hired Joseph Campbell and he rewrote Star Wars to follow the hero's journey. Absolutely true story. And the hero's journey, you see it in almost every book and movie that you do. And what it's about is about this reluctant hero. I mean, Luke Skywalker didn't set out to be a hero. What it does is this reluctant hero goes on this journey, and he goes through all these different things in his life or her life. But all those things are actually preparing them for the next step. And that's preparing them to really dig down and have courage. And the reason the hero's journey is traced back to religion, and they trace it back to all the stories people were telling around the fire when we were cavemen, and we see it so often, is because it's a story of our own lives. It's the story of our own lives. Now, just for your consideration, what if you looked at your life through a different view? What if you looked at your life through the view that your higher power, whether your higher power is God, Allah, Muhammad, Buddha, the spirit, universe, or you just even think maybe we're just all connected. It doesn't even matter what it is. But what if you thought we were here to create, and that everything that you went through in your life up till now, whether it's dysfunctional parents, whether it's something nasty like abuse, whether it's an illness, whether somebody died, whether you got turned down by that last investor, what if all that was to prepare you, to give you courage and strength for what you're going to do next? Would that change the way you look at your life? Instead of judging that stuff is what develops character. That stuff is what develops strength. That stuff is what develops resilience. So what I want to leave you with is this. I want you to look at your heroes out there. Look at the heroes you have in your life and realize that at one point in their life is exactly where you're at in your life. In fact, you might even be further ahead than they were. Then I want you to look at your life and say, you know what? The universe has been preparing me pretty well for what I'm going to do next. And then I really want you to go out there and start changing the world, because the world needs it to become a soul-centered leader. And I want everybody out there to bring out the hero within you. Thank you.